I really see my life as having two chapters. Chapter 1 led me to be the president of a Fortune 100 energy company. But what you may be shocked to learn is in Chapter 1, I was living life by default. I was stressed out, so unhealthy that I ended up in a hospital bed with doctors telling me that I'm not going to make it, that I'm going to die. Now, Chapter 2 is where I left that hospital bed on a mission to design my life differently. A life of learning, a life of intention, a life of meaning, and a life of purpose. You know, when I graduated from here, my default plan was to work hard, make a lot of money, retire at 55, 60, and that was about my plan. Pretty simple. 10 years deep, and I've already started approaching the peak of a corporate ladder. I was promoted to president of a Fortune 100 company by the time I was 35 years old. So my paper resume looks absolutely awesome. But what's interesting about that, all that led to my default plan. But on the inside, I was spiritually empty. I was unfulfilled. And you may ask, how is that possible? How can you not be proud of a life like that when you're on top of a corporate ladder, making more money in a year than I thought I could make in 10 years? I was very self-centered, very insecure, stressed out. I used to drink a lot of alcohol as a crutch to deal with that. But I wasn't done hitting bottom just yet. On my birthday, my girlfriend, which is now my beautiful and loving wife, had to take me to the hospital. I had severe abdominal pain. They told me that I had acute pancreatitis. After 10 days, a doctor came to me and says, "Hey, Mike, you're not looking too good, man. You're not gonna make it. You're dying." My living by default, living life however, had led me to almost dying. And I'm thinking, you know, I've made changes in my life. I know that I need to make some more. I'm too young to die. I was scared out of my mind. The next day, my numbers got a little bit better. The next day, my numbers got a little bit better. They let me out of the hospital after day 13 to go home and continue my recovery. I decided to close Chapter 1 right there and start writing Chapter 2. Chapter 2, I decided to design my life, not just live by default, not just take it as it comes, but to design my life. So Chapter 2 is a life of learning. Chapter 2 is a life of intention. Chapter 2 is a life of meaning and purpose. I had figured out how to die. Now I wanted to learn how to live. I work relentlessly to improve myself and also to help others to improve themselves. And so my gift to you today is to share with you 5 lessons that I've learned, not ones that I Googled, but ones that I learned from transitioning from living life by default to living life by design. I call them design lessons. Design lesson number 1, where you come from does not determine where you're going. When I left this university, I had a chip on my shoulder for people that I thought were born on third, stealing home. They're from a bigger university or a bigger city. They had more opportunity than I did. I remember one time early on, I was at lunch with a boss of mine. He brought a guy from Harvard with him. He looks at me and says, "Hey, Mike, what was your GPA when you graduated from Texas A&M Kingsville, chemical engineer?" I said, "I don't know, about 3.75. He looks at the guy from Harvard and said, "That's probably like a 3.0 at Harvard." And that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that you're less than. And just for your information, Harvard doesn't offer a chemical engineering degree, and they don't even calculate their GPAs the same way we do. So that guy didn't know what he's talking about. Where you come from does not determine where you're going. Your upbringing does not define you. So remember, when designing your life, nothing's holding you back. Design lesson number 2, never stop learning. I'll be honest with you, when I graduated from here, I said that I would never come back to school. I definitely wouldn't be talking to this big a crowd in this costume. But I was wrong. In Chapter 2, I've had to radically change my mindset towards learning. I now understand that you don't know it all. You have to keep learning. In Chapter 2, and this is late in my 30s, I started reading books, personal development books. I still read at least one a month. I started to learn to have trust in a power greater than myself, so I learned how to pray and how to meditate. I stopped drinking alcohol and I learned how to stay stopped. I started hanging around successful people and attracting successful people because I finally figured out that you are the average of the 5 people that you keep around you. To say that differently is, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I noticed that successful people set goals for themselves and they work to achieve those goals. They set time on a calendar. They don't just wake up in the morning and say, come on, Dave, bring it. No, they set tasks in their calendar. So when designing your life, you'll never know it all. Keep adding tools to your toolbox. Design lesson number 3, think for yourself. I remember in chapter 1, when I was living by default, I'd get into a car on my way to work. I'd turn on the radio. I'd listen to news. I'd listen to talk radio. I'd listen to Howard Stern doing something ridiculous. I'd get to the office, and I'd let the computer give notifications to me and interrupt my workflow in the day. I'd be lazily looking at my phone, letting social media and other things interrupt my day, filling my mind with negative information. It really gave me a negative view of the world. I really started thinking that the world is heading in a really bad direction. Let me tell you something, in chapter 2, I don't watch the news. I don't allow notifications get into my mind. I take responsibility for what and when I let content get into my head. So when designing your life, don't believe all the hype. Think for yourself. Take responsibility for your own thoughts. Design lesson number 4. Sorry, Mom. You got to work your ass off. There's no way to get around it. In the 6,000 years of human civilization, hard work plus opportunity equals success. And doesn't mean monetary success. You know what I'm talking about. Success in your relationship, success with your health, success in your job. You have to work hard at it. There is no magic pill. There is no easy way. You are not entitled to anything besides the value you bring to what you're trying to accomplish. And if you try, you will fail. What you've been taught for 16 years of your education is that failure is bad. A is good, F is bad, and life is exactly opposite. The faster you fail, the faster you learn because you don't want to fail again, so you learn faster. The definition of success is stumbling from failure to failure with no lack of enthusiasm. The worst thing failure would do is teach you something. Now, when you fail and get knocked down and you decide to not get back up, that's quitting. That's mediocrity. Avoid mediocrity at all costs. Mediocrity kills more dreams than hopes can create. And so when designing your life, never, never, never quit. Keep working. Design lesson number 5, last one, compounding, compounding, compounding. You got to answer a question to get this one. Would you take $3 million today, or would you take a penny if I doubled it every day for 30 days? Now, if you had your engineering calculators out, you do your math, you'd get $11 million if you took that penny and let me double it every day. That's the power of compounding. You'd leave $8 million on the table if you took that early gratification. Change takes time, and we lose patience. If you want to make change, you make small, incremental changes that you can consistently perform, and over time, they turn into big life changes. I love what Bill Gates says about this. He says, we overestimate what we can accomplish in a year. We underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years. Isn't that true? That's why New Year's resolutions don't work. You make these big old plans and you try to make big change, it never works. You overestimate what you can accomplish in a year. You underestimate what you can accomplish in 10 years. In chapter 2, I practice every aspect of my life, not just my job and trying to make money anymore. And so, when designing your life, be careful what you practice, because you're always practicing something and you get really good at what you practice. So graduates, I hope you learn all this faster than I did. I didn't learn a lot of this until I was later on in my 30s. Living life by default is just accepting life as it shows up, and you think that life happens to you and you're a victim of your circumstances. But try to remember some of these 5 design lessons. Where you come from doesn't determine where you're going. Never stop learning. Think for yourself. Work your ass off, and compounding. And you learn that life happens for you, and life is beautiful. Jalisco!